So I'm sorry this video really isn't for the recreational RC guy or the basher guy, because I don't think you're going to notice a big change in your car the way it performs by using this product. It's not like strapping on a nitrous bottle or anything like that. But if you're a serious RC racer or a serious RC spec racer and you got to run the same motor, same ESC, same tires, same battery, then this video is for you. Today we're going to talk about a new product on the channel. It's the RC Discharger. My race program was really hurting this year. You know, I need just a little bit more power, hopefully to shave off a tenth or two. I talked to a friend of mine who's a hobby shop owner. He said, you need to check out the RC Discharger. RC Discharger claims you can discharge a 2S LiPo battery at 40 amps. Well, you can. We found that out. They also claim it'll lower the IRs, the internal resistance of that LiPo battery. Yep, it'll do that too. We found that out. But will it make more power? And that's what we're going to find out today. I got a lot of test equipment. I got a used battery, a new battery. We got a lot of batteries to test, and that's where we're going to test and find out. We're going to get a lot of data, match it all up, and see if there's any improvements or see if one's better than the other. First, let's take a look at what they sent me. The first thing they sent me was this pit mat. You know, it's got a rubber backing on it. Feels like neoprene material. RC Discharger logo right on the front. The next level for your LiPo. Looks really good. This is what the video is all about right here. The regenerative discharger comes in this white box with the logo right on top and a power cord. All right, let's take a closer look at the RC Discharger. And right on the front, you're going to notice that big 6S LiPo battery. So when you're discharging your 2S LiPo battery, all the energy is going to go right into that battery. On the back, we have a power supply with a fuse, 2 LED lights, and a fan. And on the very back of the RC Discharger, you're going to see a mounting bracket for the car stand. Next thing they sent me was an iCharger, a DX6 1500 watt duo charger. Got to tell you guys, I really like this charger. It's small, easy to use, and it fits right on top of the discharger just like that. It's a 1500 watt charger, 900 watts per channel. The max charge, discharge, and DC power current is 32 amps per channel. And the charger has a synchronous mode you can use, so you can charge or discharge one 2S LiPo battery at 40 amps by syncing channel 1 and channel 2 together. The cable that I just showed you to synchronize channel 1 and 2, I made this cable. It did not come with. This cable here did come with, and that's going to plug right into the back of the discharger, and this end here is going to plug right into the iCharger. The balance cable that you're going to see in the video, that did not come with. I did supply that. And although I can't use it, RC Discharger did send with this very heavy-duty charging cable. Has an XT60 connector on one end that plugs into the charger, and a balance lead connector. Also has a temperature sensor, and it has the bullet connectors for the battery. I use the XT60 connector for my battery. They send me the 2 tubes in the bracket, and that's supposed to slide right in the back just like this. And this bracket here is supposed to go on top, and you're supposed to set your car right on top of the charger like that. It'll look really good. I'm going to use it for a LiPo stand, so I'll set this bracket just like that. They did send me a LiPo bag. I'll set it right on the back and charge my batteries on the back of the stand just like that. And with the discharge, you will get a set of directions, although it doesn't read the best, so there must be a communication gap there somewhere. Just follow along, you'll be just fine. And head over to the website, check out the merch, especially this RC Discharger hoodie. Now I'm going to show you how to set everything up on the RC Discharger. You're going to take the balance connector, plug it right into the side, just like that. And we're going to take the XT90 connector and plug that right into the side. After you plug in these 2 plugs right here, you will see a red LED light showing you that we have power going to the power supply. So when you're not using the RC Discharger, make sure you unplug these plugs. Next, we're going to power up the iCharger by plugging this cable into the top of the RC Discharger, and the other end is going to go into the iCharger. You will hear a couple beeps, and you will see it power on. Something I really like about this setup here, you can take this on the road and you don't have to plug in the power supply. You have the power right here in this battery. As long as this battery here is charged up, you can discharge your 2S LiPo battery and charge it back up with the power from this battery using the regenerative charger. But we will use this cord right here for our test. We'll plug this end into the RC Discharger and the other end into the wall socket. Next, we'll plug in this cable right here because we will be using synchronous mode to charge and discharge our batteries. Next, we'll plug in the balance cable, but we only need one since we're using synchronous mode. Before we start our battery test, I wanted to let you know what model I'm using today because I think I forgot to mention that earlier. This is the 2S model. You can also get a 4S or a 6S. If you buy the 2S model like we have here, you can only charge and discharge one 2S LiPo battery. Now you can charge and discharge two 1S LiPo batteries with this unit right here. If you want to charge two 2S LiPo batteries, and then you're going to need the 4S model. And I know the motor analyzer isn't going to tell us a whole lot, maybe RPM and voltage, but it'll be good for starting out and giving us a baseline with the RPM. And these are the batteries we'll be using for our test today. Battery number 1 is a used battery. It's an SMC 5250C battery. Battery number 2 is a used battery. The break-in's already been done to that battery, so we discharged and charged that battery already to 40 amps. That is also an SMC 5250C battery. Battery number 3 is a used battery, and that is a ProTech RC 5250C battery. Battery number 4 is brand new, and that's an SMC 5250C battery. First test probably isn't going to matter a whole lot, but we do want to get some data anyway. So we'll charge each battery up to 4.20 volts at 10 amps, and we'll test it on the OvalRC motor analyzer. Battery number 1 was charged at 10 amps, and we got 4.191 and 4.190 on the voltage on each cell. The internal resistance is 1.0 and 0.9 milliohms. And we're ready to test battery number 1. Here we go. We have KV 3202, RPM 26904, 8.4 volts, and 3.6 amps. Charge battery number 4 at 10 amps. The volts is 4.195 and 4.197. The internal resistance is 1.0 and 0.8. Ready to test battery number 4. KV 3214, RPM 27005, 8.4 volts, and 3.6 amps. This is the test that I think will be a little bit more meaningful. We got the dyno set up over here. We have the program set up on this side. I will be recording both the dyno and the program. And we'll be looking at the graph that says milliamp hour voltage and current versus time. On the right hand side, you'll see a bunch of numbers over here, 50, 110, 110, 110. And you're going to hear this dyno rev up, get off the throttle, rev up, get off the throttle. And what I did was I simulated a 5-minute race like I'd be running at my local track. So we're going to see all the numbers that we're going to need to get a good baseline. Let's get started. Okay, and here we go. We're ready to test battery number 1. We got to keep an eye on our voltage here, as you will see it fluctuating from 8.31 to 8.39. Looks like we're ready to give it a test. Let's go. Okay, looking at the data numbers, I'd say that test looks pretty good. And this is battery number 4 test. Here we go. Okay, looks like battery number 4 test went really good. All right, well, we tested all 4 batteries tonight, and you guys might be thinking, that sure is a lot of work you're going through to see if that product works. Well, that's what you got to do. You got to collect a lot of data, and that's what we did. We tested 4 batteries, so if one test isn't good, at least we have 3 more to go. Now, I'm hoping all 4 tests went really well. That way we can compare all 4 batteries, and we can also see if the new battery is better than the used batteries. But, you know, we still have a long way to go. That was just collecting the base data there, so we have something to go by. And then we still got to break in 3 other batteries and see if there's an improvement to that. But we got more testing to go. Here we go. And to be sure we get a good baseline for our data, we'll be using the OvalRC BD380. It's a battery discharger and analyzer. We'll be discharging each battery at 25 amps with a cutoff voltage of 7 volts. And we'll be measuring constant current. And this test is battery number 1. And you can see we're close to the cutoff voltage. We're at 7.02 with a cutoff of 7.0. And this is what our graph looks like so far. Now we're ready to start testing battery number 4. And that will wrap up battery test number 4. After we got our baseline, I still had to break in 3 more batteries. And you can figure out how to do that just by reading the directions. It'll tell you how to do that. RC Discharger asked me not to share that information because it's kind of proprietary to their product, so I get it. So we still had to break in battery 1, 3, and 4. I already broke in battery number 2. I tested it with the test equipment and I did see an improvement, so that's why I decided to continue on. I will tell you it takes about 2 to 3 hours to break in each battery, so I got a lot of time wrapped up in just breaking in batteries. After that, I discharged them, charged them, discharged them, charged them. I cycled them at a high amp rate to see if there was any improvement. We stuck them back on the battery analyzer, back on the motor analyzer, and the dyno, and now we can see what kind of numbers we got. Before we take a look at the numbers, I just want you guys to know some people would call this an opinionated testing because maybe I didn't test it the right way. Maybe my numbers just weren't exact to get an accurate reading. So we're not seeing which battery is the best, so to speak. We're just comparing and seeing if there was an improvement from start to finish. Okay, so you guys finally get to see some data that we recorded off the dyno, and looking across the top we have RPM, torque, power out, voltage, etc. Underneath that we have all the data that we collected. Now if we scroll down, you will see that we recorded a lot of data because we simulated a 5-minute race, so that's a lot of numbers to look at. Although we're not going to be using all the data, we will be getting rid of the first 2.5 laps that were simulated in that race because I feel the numbers were kind of high and it's going to mess up our averages a little bit. So that's what we're going to do next, is take some of those numbers there and add it up into an average, and I'll show you what we came up with. And keep in mind, this is just one test out of 14 dyno runs. And this is our dyno test results, and all these numbers here are averages, and you want to take a look at the IR numbers especially and how they changed after the break-in. But looking at this test right here, we charged these 4 batteries at 10 amps up to 4.22 volts, and you can see that battery number 2 really performed quite well. That's the numbers right here in green. But that battery also had the break-in done to it. So when I first got the RC Discharger, I did the break-in to battery number 2, and I put it in this test here, but we can see that battery number 2 actually performed quite well, even though it was only charged using 10 amps. Now battery number 4 looked pretty good too because it had the highest RPM, but it also had the highest voltage, and I'll talk about that in just a bit. Now after the break-in, we discharged the batteries at 40 amps, charged them back up at 30 to a total voltage of 4.22 volts per cell. And you can see the IRs really came down in all 4 batteries, especially the ProTech 5200. It went from 1.4, 1.2 to 0.8 and 0.7. And all the batteries had a slight improvement in RPM and a nice improvement in efficiency in kV. There was a drop in voltage, and that's because when you charge the battery using 30 amps all the way up to 4.22 volts, when you pull the battery off the charger, you will lose some voltage, I found out. So you want your end voltage to be about 10% to really get a good charge into that battery. And the test I have down here in the corner is using the SkyRC motor analyzer. It really didn't tell us a whole lot. I didn't think it would. But we do see a slight improvement in battery number 4 from 3214 kVs to 3220, and a slight increase in RPM as well, 27,005, and it went up to 27,048. And this is our base test with the SkyRC BD380 battery analyzer, and we were doing a constant current discharge test of 25 amps, and you can see the used ProTech RC 5200 battery didn't do quite as well as the new SMC 5200 battery, and it looks just like our dyno results. This test is before using the RC Discharger. And this chart shows reading the voltage at 3 minutes into the discharge before using the RC Discharger. Battery number 3 reads 7.550 volts. Battery number 4 is the highest at 7.670 volts. And battery number 2 is a close second at 7.650. Numbers are pretty close to our dyno test. And this is our test after using the RC Discharger and breaking in the other 3 batteries. The used ProTech RC battery did quite well, as we can see in this graph right here. When we started to discharge the battery, it didn't drop off near as much as it did before. So the RC Discharger definitely made an improvement on that battery, and we can see the new SMC 5200 battery still has the most power. And this graph shows a big improvement across all 4 batteries. reading the voltage at the 3-minute mark during the discharge after using the RC Discharger. Battery number 3 comes in at 7.650 volts. Battery number 4 still the highest at 7.720 volts. And battery number 2 is a close second at 7.710 volts. And we can see all 4 batteries show more voltage at the 3-minute mark after using the RC Discharger. Okay guys, I'm about ready to take you down this giant rabbit hole that I went down learning about batteries in the past month so I could give you all the information that I could about this charger and about batteries. If there's something I left out, please leave it in the comments section below to help everybody out. Here we go. It is safer to discharge at higher amps because it is likely to be well under the maximum continuous discharge rate of the battery. For example, a 5250C battery has a maximum continuous discharge rating of 260 amps. This should allow you to safely discharge at 40 amps and not stress the battery. Although keep in mind, when you discharge at 40 amps, the battery can generate heat and must be monitored. The key is to never go below 3.6 volts per cell or 7.2 volts total, or permanent damage may occur. To calculate the discharge amp rating, take 5200 times 50C equals 260,000 divided by 1000 equals continuous discharge rating of 260 amps. On the other hand, it is a lot more dangerous to charge a battery at higher amps, and you should never exceed the battery specifications and manufacturer recommendations. This is why I can't tell you exactly what voltage is safe for you to charge at, and that's why it's a secret. There's way too many variables. And some manufacturers allow 1C, 2C, 5C, up to 10C charge rates. To calculate charge rates, take 5200 times 1C equals 5200 divided by 1000 equals a charge rating of 5.2 amps. Also 5200 times 5C equals 26,000 divided by 1000 to give you a charge rating of 26 amps. You should have very good knowledge about LiPo batteries before charging over a 2C charge rate. Charging at higher amps over the manufacturer recommendation could cause thermal runaway and a fire. Never leave a battery unattended during charging and discharging. Always use a LiPo bag. Never overcharge a battery. A typical 2S LiPo charge max is 4.20 volts per cell, equaling 8.4 volts. Most spec class rules allow you to charge up to 4.22 volts per cell for a total of 8.44 volts. Okay, and lastly, I want to share this part with you. I have not found any info anywhere that explains how to figure out the charge rate if it isn't posted by the manufacturer. I would recommend you stay clear of that manufacturer if they can't share the recommended charge rate with you. The RC Discharger does exactly what it's supposed to do. It allows us to discharge at a high amp rate. It also lowers the IRs of the battery, which gives us more power. We've seen that across all 4 batteries. Our dyno testing worked really well. Putting the batteries on the battery analyzer also worked really good as we got that information. And we could see how the batteries improved from the start to the finish. And that's what we wanted to see. You know, will this make a difference? Yes, it will. If you're a spec racer, I feel this is a tool that you need to have. I'm Mark with the OvalRC. We'll see you next time.